Hey guys, welcome back to Home Built. This week I'm going to continue playing with these oil lines and maybe even start getting stuck into the brakes. Alright, last week I got sort of stumped by trying to mount these oil lines because I don't have the brackets that came from the factory to mount them. So my task now is to try and fabricate up some brackets to try and actually mount them so that they sit where they're supposed to. Before I can mount the oil lines properly, they actually need to be mounted up to this thermostat. So I need to make sure that they fit nicely to the thermostat, and also have to make sure that it's nice and clean, because the last thing I need is grit from the thermostat going in through the engine, because as far as my understanding goes, and I'm not certain, but I think it actually the oil travels through the straight out of the engine through the oil filter, and then it runs through all these oil lines without any more filtration and back into the engine. So if there's junk in here, it's going to end up in my nice brand new engine, and that's not what I want. So let's get cleaning. Alright, well that is a pain in the butt. These two covers are really tight, and I don't want to damage it, so I'm not exactly sure how to get them off. I have had a good look inside, and it appears to have all been cleaned out very thoroughly, and it actually looks really neat and clean inside. There's still a little bit of grit on the outside that I'm going to give it a bit of a scrub. Any suggestions on how to get these off? I assume there's proper tools to get them off, but I don't have those tools, and I don't want to wreck it. So let's give it a clean. Okay, that's all cleaned out pretty well. I'm pretty happy with how it looks inside, but if I'm doing something drastically wrong, please let me know in the comments. But for now, let's try and loosely connect this up and see how we go fitting up those oil lines. Okay, I've been looking at how I'm going to attach these oil lines to the car. I have these mounting points that were there. The add-on air conditioning that my car had originally actually ran along the sides, and this obviously had seal covers on it for its year, which I'm no longer running, obviously. And it used these rubber-coated hose clips. The original oil cooler clamps are actually a pressed piece of metal. I'm going to make up something similar out of this piece of rod. This will sit over the top, bolted on in the same spot to sort of clamp them where they want to be. So that's my theory. So now I need to actually get it all sort of set up and clamped. The other issue I had is I'm not sure how they're actually supposed to be attached to this. What I had on here was there was a nut and bolt, and a nut was just sort of sitting inside these little U-shaped brackets done up from the bottom. The trouble is that you can't get anything in there to hold onto the nut, so it makes it very difficult to do up and undo, and particularly when I've got oil lines and stuff in the way, there's no way I'm going to be able to get in there. So my thought is to go back to my tried and true favourite riv nuts and use my riv nuts in there, so then I can just bolt through the whole thing, and we're done. Another thing I've found is that the oil lines actually touch the body here, where I've welded on this wide body guard here. So just the lip of this wide body guard is a little bit too wide. And I thought about cutting it off, but if the oil lines are even close, they're going to rub onto it. So my first thing is I'm going to try and attempt to just bend that up in here. That way, if the oil lines do rub against it, they're not rubbing against a sharp edge where they'll rub through. If they do rub at all, they'll be rubbing against a rounded edge, which hopefully won't cause any damage. Alright, I've bent this all up. There's a bit of a chip here, but overall it's not really that drastic. I'll just paint this section black along here just to hide it in. This is right underneath the car, and we have to actually get under the car before you even see it, so I'm not overly worried. So that's bent up, so now you need to try a trial fit. Okay, now I've got it all connected up with just these rubber hose clamps, and they're in place. That's where I want it. But now I need to go through, measure up, and start building up my brackets to actually do the final hold. So there, I've made up my bracket, and it works quite nicely, but unfortunately I don't have any bolts that are long enough to go through up to my riv nut, so I'm going to have to order some bolts, so this will have to be left for today, and I think it's time to start pulling apart some brakes. Alright, so I've removed the brake caliper, and a lot of head scratching began because after some thorough researching I found that there were three main types of calipers on the early cars. There was the M type calipers, the A and the S. The M were fitted to most cars, early cars all the way through, and later on apparently they switched all the cars over from the M calipers to the A calipers. The best calipers that they had are the S calipers, which are one-piece aluminium, lighter weight, and used on all the S model cars. And that appears to be what I have here. Before I go any further, I want to pull the rear wheels off, pull the rear calipers off, and see what we got there, and see if I've got the right pads for them. I'm trying to get the rear caliper off, and I've come to realise that the bottom bolt, the only thing that's going to get it off is an offset ring spanner, and the biggest one I've got is a 17, and I need 19. So I'm going to have to stop and go and get a new set of open-headed ring spanners, or at least a 19. Okay, so I had to travel in and I bought another set of ring spanners to be able to get the brakes off, and I've also realised that the hard brake lines are all connected to the brake calipers with an 11mm nut, and the problem is that I don't have an 11mm spanner to get them off, and it's really tight. So I've taken this cheap 11mm spanner and I'm going to cut a slot in it big enough so that it can slide over the brake lines, and hopefully it won't flex too much and it will actually let me get the brake nuts off. Okay, so I've got my rear pads out of the caliper, but I still can't get the caliper off. The hard line is being a real mongrel and I can't undo it, and it's I think I'm going to have to wreck the hard line to get it out and replace the hard line anyway. I've got other hard lines I've got to remake, so that's not a big deal. Looking at the pads have still got a heap of meat on them, so they look like they're almost new. And I've got out my micrometer and I'm going to measure the thickness of the disc. Yeah, about 19.4 mil. New, these are 20 mil and they have to be replaced at 18 mil. That means that these discs are still within spec, and I can just, I'll probably just take them in and get them machined, refaced, and they'll be good. So now I need to see if I can get this caliper off. That side was much easier. The brake line cracked first time, and it all came straight off without a real hassle. So if only they'd all be like that. All right, let's move on to the last one. this is proving to be a real pain in the butt. The disc is actually loose behind the hub, but you obviously have to get the hub off to get the disc off. And to get the hub off, I need to remove the wheel bearing dust cap. And do you think that's going to budge? No. I've been bashing it with a hammer, just tapping it either way, trying to loosen it up, trying to use a pair of vice grips, and it's really not coming. It's really driving me crazy. It's annoying me. I mean, to be honest, the discs are actually pretty good. They probably could get away without machining them, but I'm going to machine them just to get them spot on. I just want to get the hub off. Thought I'd come over and try the other side and see if that was any easier, but it's not, so I'm just going to keep soaking it for a while and hope that the WD-40 penetrates a bit and come back to it, because I don't have much other choice at the moment. Okay, I went and did a bit of research, and I found a couple of methods online that people have used to get these off, so I need to go and get some bits and pieces for that. So before I head out, I'm going to take some measurements of the oil lines and the brake lines and the bits and pieces I need, so I can go and order all them now, and we can move forward on this. That was more stuffing around. Magically I'm back again, but it's a couple of hours later. I've managed to get some hard brake line and a bunch of fittings, so that'll be handy for next week. But most importantly, these are the things that are going to come in handy right now. These are 2-inch exhaust brackets, and I'll show you what I'm about to do with them, and hopefully we'll get some dust covers off. I really didn't think I was going to get it for a minute there, but finally I got it off. I needed a crazy amount of pressure to get it off. There is no way I was getting it off with this massive long jimmy bar and a lot of force. I finally managed to get it off. That was a pig. The dust caps are off, and unfortunately that means I've actually run out of time to do anything else this week after all this running around and craziness. So that must mean it's time for Fun Facts with Mrs. Jeff.
Hi guys. Many of you know that the mid-year 911s from 1974 to 1977 are the least desirable of the air-cooled era. And this is due to Porsche trying to meet the new emissions standard in 1974. As with this car, they needed to cut emission, but also increase power to stay competitive in the market. And they decided to use a detuned version of the 2.7 RS for the job. They also made it run hotter by reducing the fan blades from 11 to 5. Now this helped with the emissions, but it played havoc with the magnesium case, warping it and causing the head studs to pull. One of the theories with this downfall is that the 911 was getting ready to be replaced by the far superior 928 and the 924, and that in fact it was just acting as a stopgap. In the end, as we know, the 928 was expensive and it was plagued with problems, while the 911 just kept on going.
Welcome to another mail time segment. So this week we've got a letter with a sneaky little build thread stamp on the front of it. Okay, the letter reads, to Jeff, love your work, you're an inspiration to car lovers the world over. Keep doing what you're doing, can't wait to see how the 911 finishes up and the projects that will follow. All the best, and buildthreads.com. If you haven't seen the website, buildthreads.com, go and have a look, because Anth picks some build threads from forums and stuff all over the world that he finds interesting and posts them up there and reposts them and gives links to them. And there's some really cool builds on there. And he found me a while back and gave me a shout out on there, which I was quite grateful for. So go and check out Build Threads. And he sent me a bunch of stickers, so we're going to stick some stickers up here. There's one more than just wheels and a drop. That's quite accurate. Grazed knuckles and empty wallets. That's I can relate to that. All right, guys. If you want to send me something for my wall, send it to Home Built by Jeff, PO Box 1520, Bowral, New South Wales 2576, Australia. Thanks, guys. Okay, guys. That's it for another week. Lots of playing around this week, trying to get brakes and bits off and running around and getting things, but at least I've made some progress there. So next week I can start making up some brake lines and cleaning up the brakes and rebuilding the brakes, and this week had to happen to get some more interesting stuff next week, so it should be good. So as always, if you want to help out the channel, please go to the shop, links in the description, and buy some hoodies or t-shirts. And if you're liking the videos, please like and subscribe to my channel, Home Built by Jeff, and you can follow me on Facebook and Instagram at the same place. See you guys.
Shush! Let me concentrate. It's up the emissions, but it played havoc with me knees in case, whooping it. Okay. Just random numbers to me.
You're doing too well. I need more bloopers. I need bloopers!
I mean, just won't be any this time. Maybe just too good.